Hey everybody. So it is 9/11, and it's 18 years since the attack. Everyone says, never forget, remember, remember. So I thought, well, okay, let me do a video to remember what it is I saw 18 years ago. So I live in Midtown, and the Twin Towers were directly below me, so my view was that. It has changed drastically since. None of that was there. So, okay, this is what I experienced. I got up around 8:30, came into the living room because I had the air conditioner on. It had been a hot night, and noticed my across the way neighbor looking downtown with binoculars. So I looked and saw what was obviously, oh shit, a huge fire in one of the towers. I mean, just smoke. As I moved from the terrace to the television, I guess is when the second plane hit, so I didn't see that happen. But then, on the TV, it was obvious like this was going on. And at that point, my mom called from Virginia, crying, just like the plane hit the towers, planes hit and then I guess I vaguely remember I said, was it an accident? No, it wasn't. And we got off the phone, and I was out here with binoculars and just watching smoke moving toward Brooklyn, just unthinkable amounts of smoke. And okay, this part, you might not want to listen to this. Through my binoculars, I saw what looked like paper fluttering out of the towers. That wasn't paper. That was people choosing to jump to their deaths instead of burning. But I couldn't know that then. And it just was... I'm right above 42nd Street. I mean, right down there is just, 42nd Street. And it seemed instantly like just all traffic disappeared. And the only thing was sirens and emergency vehicles up and down 42nd Street. It was endless. And there was nothing else moving. And it was a crystal clear, beautiful day, and just smoke moving toward Brooklyn. And I just stood there between the TV and here, and very little information, and watching, and as the smoke just kept moving, it just somehow, optical illusion wise, it looked like the towers were leaning, and I remember the sound of my own voice screaming, you can't fall down, and then I watched the first tower just collapse, and the sound even from up here that made, and then the second tower. And then it was just silence and smoke and smoke and smoke. And even the emergency vehicles stopped. There was no sound. And I know that there were tons of emergency people standing by at St. Vincent's Hospital downtown, and there was no one to bring in. And then I remember packing a bag. I don't know to go where and why, but just I packed an emergency bag. And I did what a lot of other people seem to do. I went downstairs to the supermarket and I bought a jug of water. I don't know why we were all doing that, but we did. And then it just got silent. And I just watched as the smoke, just smoke, moving toward Brooklyn. And the sun set, and it just, and the news just kept repeating the same story of what they knew. And that's how the day ended. And the next morning was another crystal clear, gorgeous day, and it was silent out here, silent. There was still smoke, but not as much, and the wind had shifted, and there was a very distinct smell, that rubber and electric burning smell, very distinct. I'll never forget it, and I've been in a couple situations where, like in theaters, where electrical something fizzled or something, and that smell is it reminds me of instantly. And the emergency vehicles had stopped, and there was no traffic in the streets. There was so little motion, and I remember going out, and New Yorkers were like really looking at each other in the eye, but it was silent. And that was Wednesday. And then the next day, Thursday, we went back to work. We went back to Broadway. I was doing Beauty and the Beast, and to go back and be together as a family and talk about what we had seen and what we had heard and who we knew that was gone. Anybody that knew anybody. I didn't. To be there, it was so important. And we did the show for a really small audience that just did not want to laugh or did not know how to respond to this fantasy. At the curtain call, like all Broadway shows did then, we sang God Bless America. And then we all went out and drank. A few of us from the wardrobe department. And I remember within a couple of days, we as a company kind of instinctively realized that singing God Bless America, we shouldn't do that as our show. I mean, there were children in our audience that had no idea what was happening, and they were just there to be children seeing a fantasy. So we just did the show for them. And slowly, audiences came back, and slowly, everything that followed happened. But I remember for so long after, anytime I heard an emergency vehicle, I'm wondering what's happening, where's it going? And eventually when planes started flying again, every time I heard a plane, I just instinctively looked up what direction is it heading and how low is it? And we just got on with the business of being New Yorkers and living our lives here in our city. I remember a couple weeks after we did the big I Love New York commercial in Times Square with everybody from Broadway to try to get business back, because a lot of shows closed, and Disney was toying with the idea of shutting us down as well, or we had to, a few shows took a pay cut to stay alive, and Disney of course asked for 25% of our money, and we said no, and read another several years. So there. But that's what I remember, and I never want to forget that. I don't know how to close this. I'm just sitting out here recording, so I just wanted to share that with you.